Right, so starting at the fuel tank end, represented by the jerry can, we have two fuel lines. These are the solid steel fuel lines that go to the engine bay. So two sizes. The bigger of the size, the bigger bore fuel pipe is the one that is sending fuel to the engine compartment, and the smaller one is coming back from the engine compartment. So this is the leak off, effectively, the unspent fuel. So let's just start with this one. So from this fuel tank, it comes up here, and apologies for the wind, it's bloody almost hurricane weather yet again. So we come up from the fuel tank round. Obviously these are mounted on these clips on your chassis. There is a joint in the pipe there. Typically they will leak, did on mine, but that comes kind of up through the underside of the cab, and it comes to your engine. This engine is not a DAF engine. This is off a World War II Jeep or Ford GPW. It's a Jeep engine. That's another set of videos on the World War II Ford GPW that I'll probably never get around to making. Anyway, so comes up to the sedimenter. The sedimenter, basically all this is a cunning device, a very crude device actually, because it's not a filter, but it's effectively a pre-filter. You could think about it as, but it's not really a filter, because the fuel comes into this head here, and any shit, debris and water, in fact, because obviously oil floats on water, comes into this. And then obviously on the bottom you've got a drain here. So this is a standard DAF equipment on the T244. So yes, it comes into here through these fittings. This fitting here is a jig, 3/4 inch jig to whatever this is. I'm not sure what that size of it is, but basically you'll have these on your DAF already. So it comes into here, all the crap drops out. You can you don't unscrew this actually, just undo this bolt there. This will just drop straight off, and you can clean this out. And it is recommended to clean this out periodically. This thing works absolutely fine, but only if you periodically clean it. Okay, so from there the fuel comes out of this again, and this is into a push fitting, and this is what kind of always leak. These push fittings here, these will leak air. Now this is the critical part, because this is going to your from the sedimenter to your lift pump, represented on the side of the block. Obviously what this is, it's essentially just a mechanical low pressure fuel pump basically. So this thing here, this arm that I can point to with my thumb there, this arm kind of goes up and down on the cam of the engine, and as that arm goes up and down, obviously it pumps the fuel. So the fuel comes in here. So basically there will be an attachment on there, a fitting on there, which I'll stay in, from this line. And again, this is one of the push fittings. So this sedimenter to lift pump push fitting can fail. When this fails, when these O-rings fail, this is where your air can get drawn into the system. Now, if you think about it, you've got all your fuel coming down the fuel lines down here into this sedimenter and up to here. This is effectively like a vacuum. So this is your manual pump here, this lever here. You can actually pump it by hand, just like it does on the if it's running off the engine. But this is pumping here, drawing fuel from your tank down the fuel line up to the sedimenter and down to here. So obviously if it's pumping and these have got air leaks in, it's just going to pump air through and not pump fuel through, right? Because air's going to come easier than fuel. So this is one reason why it will cut out. Just like if these connections here, as I found out to my cost at the MLT time, if these connections are loose, again, air can get drawn into these connections, and same thing, the lift pump just basically won't work. You'll know it's not working because if you take this down, just pull this down like this. I'll just pause the video a second. Now if you click that down and you push, if you push on this lift pump up and down, you'll just feel no resistance. It'll just be floppy, right? There's a couple of reasons for its floppiness. One, if it's sat on the cam of the engine, so basically this is on the cam, this part here sticking out bit here is on the cam, it won't move anyway. So just crank the engine with the key, a couple of revolutions and so on, so basically get it off the can. But again, if this still hasn't got any sort of pressure behind it, and it's not squirting fuel out of here, basically this top bit, it's not squirting fuel out of there, then basically it's either the seals are buggered inside it, or more than likely you're drawing air in, it's pumping air and not pumping fuel, right? So again, your engine's going to starve. Okay, right, so from there then, sorry about the wind again, from there it is going to go into your in the DAF engine, in the Cummins 6BT engine, and there'll be a fuel filter housing. So this is your actual main fuel filter. This is your last line of defence for cleaning your fuel, basically. And in the filter, basically, fuel goes in these holes. The dirty fuel, as it were, goes in these holes, and the clean fuel comes out the central hole. So that'll be on the block of the engine, basically. So basically, fuel got in here, and it'll be lifted through this pump and come out of here via another sort of tube here with some banjo fittings, and it will go into this fuel filter. Now, when it comes out of the fuel filter, there's basically I haven't got it here to show you, but there's basically a piece of pipe that kind of feeds the fuel into your injector pump. Now, this injector pump is a CAV injector pump, CAV, Lucas CAV injector pump, and this is basically a more high pressure fuel injection into your engine. So basically, with a 6BT engine, 6-cylinder engine, you've obviously got 6 outlets here, 6 ports, and this is a rotary fuel pump. So as this spins, and this is obviously spinning when the engine's spinning, this is spinning here. As that's spinning, it's basically metering the fuel into the different injectors. So obviously you've got fuel injection, solid lines coming off of each of these ports, up to the fuel injectors, which will be on the top of your engine. And obviously they're firing in a certain sequence. So as the piston's coming up to its firing stroke, obviously that's injecting the fuel at the correct time. And then that's kind of it, really. The only thing to mention, really, obviously there is a return line as well. So any diesel that's not burnt off and spent, it kind of comes back, and it's like a leak off, and then that comes down on some push fittings as well, but effectively it comes into this pipe here, the smaller pipe, and that comes back down and runs back into your tank. So that is kind of it, really, demonstrated with a Jeep engine and a jerry can, but hopefully that kind of makes sense. There's probably a bit more detail that I've brushed over there, but that's kind of how it works. I wish I could show you on my DAF, but as you can see, my DAF's not actually here because it's at the MOT place getting money spent on it again to get through the MOT. So, but anyway, I thought that would show you the different components. One thing I would like to show you though is what I've done on mine. I've changed this sedimenter, which is why it's not on the truck, to a CAV filter, which is like a double filter, to give a bit more pre-filtering before it goes into your main fuel filter here. Now, there are better options than the CAV filter, because the problem with the CAV filter is really, again, it's an old design, and what it means is that it's very much like this, actually. It's very much like this, but except it's got a filter element in it as well. But it still does a sedimentation and so on, but it's like this in that it's got a bolt that basically runs this as a bolt through here to kind of hold all these components together. The only difference with it, really, it's got a glass bottom at the bottom, so you can see shit in the bottom, and it's got a filter cartridge in. But basically, it's the same concept as this, except it's got a filter, but it's held together, compressed together by this bolt. Now, this is a pain in the ass to change. This you don't change any filter in this, but you empty out, because obviously got to bleed all your fuel system, fuel going everywhere. Old design, quite crap, and there's lots of places because you've got seals in the CAV filter anyway. Obviously these different components, you've got seals between the two, and the seals can leak air. There's just loads of potential for air to leak into the system, just like, and then you'll start getting problems, like I say, with fuel starvation. So there are better options. This is just one option, which I'm probably going to swap mine to eventually. This is a cheap copy, a Chinese copy of a Raycore type filter or a cyclonic filter. So basically this could be replaced by this as a pre-filter. This is a great design. Again, you've got an inlet and an outlet, but what happens inside here, I can quickly show you on here, is that the fuel kind of comes into this system, and it comes out, it's sort of spinning round as it were out into here. So same concept, you've got water and sediment will drop out into the bottom, but it's just a better design. You can basically, it's got a cartridge, it's got a filter in the top, in this top part here, and you just, no tools needed, you just spin this bar off. You can change your fuel filter, and obviously all your fuel's not going to piss out of this because your fuel's at a lower level than the filter, as it were. So this is a better design. Like I said, this is a Chinese copy, but I'll probably at some point be changing my brand new cab filter system for this. Maybe I could put this on inline before it hits the tank, but I suppose I just worry a little bit about having too many filters and therefore restricting the flow of the fuel, because obviously every filter adds a bit of a restriction. So I probably will swap that at some point. But yeah, you've got options like this. You've got the Rayco Separa filters, a very similar sort of concept, a canister type filter, so screw-on filter, you know, a bit like a normal fuel filter. It kind of goes on. So there's a few different options that you've got, but yeah, definitely whichever way you do it, you want to have some sort of pre-filtration or some pre-method of getting water and sediment out of the fuel before it hits the actual main last stage, you know, more finer fuel filter. Because diesel this day and age, it's different now. In the old days, there was more sulphur in it, so sulphur would kill diesel bug, and diesel bug is like a growth in the diesel. Sulphur isn't there now, so you can get biocides in there, but you know, the diesel itself also nowadays it absorbs moisture more readily now, much more readily. So yeah, modern diesels, even in a first world country like Britain, modern diesels are much different than what used to be when the DAFs were first out on the roads. So yeah, filtration, cleaning, or some people call it polishing the diesel, is a really important element of looking after your DAF. And basically what you're really doing, you're looking after this injection pump. If you've had your injection pump rebuilt, yeah, which is at least like best part of 500 quid to get them rebuilt, you don't want to be putting crappy fuel into this. And in fact, the worst thing is if you can't prove you've filtered properly your fuel before it goes into this, you might risk you know, not having a warranty on it. So this is all critical stuff. Hope that helps.